Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For those tuning in on the radio side here in Mississippi, WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad that you all could be with us. Also, joining us are our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. We're excited to welcome back Sean Kanan to our program today. You guys know him as an actor from television and film. He also is the star of the Emmy-winning series Studio City on Amazon Prime. I want to talk to Sean, though, about his journey and the new book, Way of the Cobra, which is a fascinating look not only at the lessons that Sean's been able to take for himself, but also what he's been able to share now with all of you to help you kind of be able to unleash your own inner, I guess we would say, your own inner Cobra as well. If you guys are just now finding out about the book, we'll let you guys know to be able to get your own copy of it and stay connected with Sean as well. Sean, thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it.
Cyrus, it is always great to be back with you, and I want to say hi to all your listeners in Mississippi. I had the good fortune of coming to Mississippi a couple of times, and just the nicest people in the world.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that, Sean. Well, Sean, man, you are one of the nicest people, for sure. You know, you and I have been having these conversations over the years, and I always appreciate, for one, your time, but also I think the insight. And I think that's the great thing about you, Sean, is, as I said, people know you as an actor, but you have really shown that you are so much more than an actor. What has that been like for you through these books, and especially Way of the Cobra, to be able to show how you really are at your heart a teacher as well?
You know, it's funny. I always thought that I got into acting because I wanted to express myself. You know, I was looking for a way to, impact the world, and I love to entertain people. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that the core reason why I got into acting was because I want to inspire people. And as I've gotten a little further down the road, I've come to realize that acting is only one conduit with which I can do that. And my desire, my hope is that in addition to my acting, that now I can inspire people with my writing. This is my third book, which is also far and away my most personal book. And, I've been getting an amazing response from people who have been telling me that they've been able to make some really significant positive changes in their life. And that just makes me beyond happy.
Yeah, and I think, there are so many people who have gotten value out of this book already. I mean, for myself when I was reading it, it was, one, Sean, fascinating to be able to find out more about your journey that I did not know on a personal aspect, but also how you've been able to use those life lessons. So let's talk about it before we dive into it. Let's talk about exactly how you designed the book, Way of the Cobra. And I love the fact that it kind of takes us through the different belts. It started off with the white belt, and we kind of advanced from there to the black belt. How did you decide how you want to be able to present the information, son?
Here's the thing. I had been working on a self-help book for a while, and I thought to myself, with this huge success of the TV show Cobra Kai and all of the interest around it, and the fact that, I'm a part of the Karate Kid universe, why not use a construct that is going to appeal to this large audience? And here's the thing. You don't have to be interested in karate. You don't have to be interested in Karate Kid or Cobra Kai for this book. It's just a way that I chose to set the book up, which is that I'm the sensei. You're a student in my dojo, the dojo of life, of Cobra life. Cobra is an acronym formed from the words character, optimization, balance, respect, and abundance. And as you said, each chapter takes you through a different belt until you ultimately earn your black belt in our dojo. But just remember, black belt is where the real learning begins, and I'm already working on the follow-up book.
Love it, love it. So one of the things that you and I were talking about actually just before we went on here, because you kind of address a few themes that we talk about a lot here on Conversations Live, Sean. One of those obstacles. And in the book, you discuss internal and external obstacles. So let's start by talking about the internal, and that falls under the blue belt. And you talk about, you and I were just discussing before we went live here, about the power of story. And you actually say this in the book, for those who have the print edition of the book. It's on page 88. There are three sides to every story: my side, your side, and the truth. Even the truth is subjective. And you know, that is a quote that we've all kind of heard. But, you know, one of the things you do is you tell us to stop taking things personally. And that really does go to the power of the story, because a lot of times we hear something, we see something, and we kind of create sometimes this narrative that goes along with it for ourselves and others. How important has that been for you to be able to kind of change the channel, so to speak, Sean, when it comes to your story?
This has been one of the most amazing lessons that I've learned in my life. And as I've applied it, I have seen huge change. You know, the stories that we attach either serve to motivate us or to limit us. And here's the interesting thing. Human beings are really bad historians. So if I said to you, Cyrus, pick an event in your life, something that was really important to you. You don't have to tell me what it is. And if you recounted it to me with as much detail as possible, talking about each specific other person involved, even down to what they were wearing. And if I said, okay, now we're going to go walk inside this movie theater and we are going to watch a movie of what really happened, I would say at best you'd be about 40% accurate. And it's not because you're lying. It's not because you're trying to be deceptive. But human beings process information through a prism which has a multitude of different variables, everything from our gender, where we live, our socioeconomics, our education, are we in a good mood or a bad mood, all sorts of crazy stuff. So if we agree that human beings are lousy historians, why not create stories that motivate us instead of stories that limit us? And I'll give you a really good example of that. Imagine two boys, they're neighbors, they live in identical homes, and they each have a father who is an alcoholic. And the father drinks away the money every week. He's physically violent with the family. He disappears for days on end. And the first boy grows up, and he unfortunately mirrors the exact same behavior as his father. And he says, well, it's in my DNA. That's the example that I was given. It is what it is. That's the story he attaches. The second boy attaches a story saying, I will never be like my father. I will never put my family at risk and have them live in fear and financial insecurity. And I'm not going to drink at all, or if he does, it's moderately. And he has a completely different life. So you have two people with identical circumstances that each attach a very different story to that set of circumstances. And it makes all the difference.
It really does. And I think and that's why we're able to see, Sean, to your point, people who may come from what may look like difficult circumstances or situations that people thought they couldn't get out of and have this tremendous success, right, and able to do all of these great things. In fact, you even say in the book, for those who have the print edition on page 91, the only thing in the universe that we do have control over is how we process the never-ending stream of stimuli that bombards us from the world outside and how we choose to respond with our emotions. And then you say this, notice that I selected choose, because make no mistake about it, the way you deal with the situation is a choice. Choose wisely, because that choice may initiate a domino effect, which next triggers the story you attach to the event. So when did you realize this for yourself, Sean? It's such a powerful lesson, as you mentioned. When did you realize the power of the story?
Well, I think I had a lot of paradigm shift type moments when I really got serious about writing this book. If I felt that if I was going to put myself in a position where I was acting as an authority, as a teacher, I had to not only share vulnerabilities about my life, because nobody wants to be preached to, and I also had to take a good hard inventory of my life and look at the times when I had allowed myself to fall into that trap which so many people, especially now in our country, are falling into. And it's a two-headed monster: victimhood and being offended. Everybody wants to be offended about something. And some people, either consciously or unconsciously, they don't realize it, are constantly have their head on a swivel, just waiting for that moment for anything to offend them, because that then allows them to, trigger the second part of it, which is victimhood. And neither of those do anything to serve your forward progress. And so I think that's when I really started to look at that. Look, there are a lot of people that have unfortunate challenges in life. And, most of us got sold a bill of goods when we were young that life is fair. Life is not fair, okay? But, you can take someone, for example, I heard of a woman who unfortunately hit this ugly trifecta. She was born poor, she was sexually victimized, and she wasn't exactly what Hollywood initially called camera-friendly. And look, she could have, screamed to the heavens that life wasn't fair, that she was a victim, and instead, she decided to build $1 billion multimedia business and inspire millions of people all the world. And, maybe you heard of her. Her name begins with an O. And so, it's Oprah, obviously. So, you can either attach a story that, I came from this horrendous beginning with these terrible circumstances and, of course, I'm not going to succeed. Or you can let it fuel you.
Right. And I think that is it. And I think that is why you're the perfect individual, Sean, honestly, to write a book like Way of the Cobra, because you are not only practicing what you preach, you have lived what you're talking about. And I want to get into that as I share something from the Green Belt. But first I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, he's on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome back Sean Kanan to our program today. You know him from television and film, but he's also an author of some powerful books, including the newest one, Way of the Cobra. And, Sean, you and I actually met, and I mentioned this in another platform when we were having another interview. We met actually not because of television initially. You were at the time promoting your very first book, The Modern Gentleman. You referenced that book and what you've been able to do in the Green Belt section of the book. And in that chapter, you talk about defining your own success. And you've been able to do this when it comes to writing down your definition of success. I love this chapter in this section of the book, Sean, because I have definitely learned, coming from Mississippi like Miss O, and being able to do, people telling me I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today now. It's so easy for us to get caught up in how other people view what our success is going to look like. Talk to us about what it was like for you to get clear on what you wanted, Sean, and the importance of then being intentional about getting it.
Well, just to put a finer point on what you said about other people talking about your success. I mean, that generally comes from their own limiting beliefs and their own ceilings that they create, which they then project onto you. So other people's limitations should in no way be projected onto you, whether it's, limitations of a family member or a teacher or anyone else. Those must be ignored. Regarding the concept of success, I believe that everybody has to define their own specific definition of success. Now, look, you and I probably have certain things that we have in common that we need in our lives to be successful. We want loving relationships. We want the ability to have financial freedom. We want, friends who care about us, things like that. Good health, okay? But there's things in my life that I need that might not necessarily be important to you, and vice versa. So everybody has to define their own definition of success, and achieving that clarity is what really helps. And a great exercise is to, write down 5 bullet points of things you need in your life for you to consider yourself successful. Then take a picture of it, and congratulations, you now have your new screensaver. 5 times a day, look at it once an hour, and let it continue to motivate you and keep you accountable. So here's the thing. Let me tell you what success is, first of all. Success is not the obnoxious Instagram feeds of celebrities, promoting and parading their conspicuous consumption of toys and trips all over the place. And as a guy that's worked in Hollywood for 35 years, let me tell you, a lot of that stuff is not even real. It's created for, effect in public relations. I had an uncle who has this great saying. He says, things aren't always what they seem. Skim milk masquerades as cream. And it's very true. I'll tell you that success is also not the airbrushed photos of models and people on the covers of fitness and fashion magazines that set this impossibly difficult physical bar to achieve. And it's also not the constant bombardment of commercials telling us that we have to have this or we have to have that in order to be successful, okay? Because if monetary success and material possession were the only barometers to define success, then a spectacular portion of the population would be deemed unsuccessful. Let me give you an example. Imagine a guy who's he's an immigrant, maybe came over from Mexico when he was a little boy. He's 70 years old. He works as a janitor. He still speaks broken English with a very thick accent, and he's worked as a janitor for 30 years. He's not the guy that probably most people would put at the top of their list when they think of someone who's really successful. But what if I told you that same guy saved all of his money, put his only daughter through school, first person in their family to go to college. She eventually went to medical school, became a brilliant research scientist, and went on to save tens of thousands of lives. I'd say that guy was really successful.
Right.
So you just got to get clear on what it is in your life that you need for you to be successful. And now you've got a destination. I mean, you're not going to get in a car and go drive somewhere without knowing where you're going.
Yeah. And that's why I like the fact that even you give the example of what you wrote down a few years ago and were able to actually achieve things like Studio City. Yeah. And now, as I mentioned, an Emmy Award-winning show, writing, a book, Success Factor X, and being able to do the things that you were able to do because you were very clear. What is your hope then, Sean, as people are hearing this conversation, they're going to Amazon to be able to get the book. We're about to give out the website as well. They can go ahead and get copies from you as well. When they read Way of the Cobra, what do you hope it does for them?
My sincerest hope is that it acts as a catalyst, a kick in the ass, and gets people to take action, to take an honest look at their lives, that I'm going to give them some really terrific strategies and philosophy to improve their life, and that they take all of this, everything that they've learned by the end of the book, and then they pass it on to somebody else, because that is at the very heart of Way of the Cobra, is that you yourself become a sensei. You learn from me, and then you go out and you teach it to somebody else, and that increases the size of our dojo.
There you go. Again, everyone, Sean Kanan has been our guest. The book is Way of the Cobra. You can get it, of course, in print of the Kindle edition through Amazon.com. But, Sean, you have a website set up as well. Let our audience know how they can find you there.
Yeah, the website is wayofthecobra.com, and if you would like to get a personalized and autographed copy of the book, you can only get it at wayofthecobra.com. If you're looking for the ebook or just a copy of the book, you can get that from Amazon.
All right, Sean, man, congratulations to you again. Really appreciate the time and your stopping by, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Anytime, Cyrus. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support, my friend. Take care of yourself.
The pleasure is definitely all mine. You as well. Thank you, Sean. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations live here at your community station at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.